Hello, it's Cindy Ingram, and we are on day 3 of Art Around the World in 30 Days. Every weekday for the month of July, I will be posting new and interesting works of contemporary art. We've looked at an art from an American artist. We've looked at art from a South African artist, and today we are headed over to China to see a contemporary artist from China. And I want to remind you, if you want to get these videos via email, you can go to artclasscurator.com/AATW. You can sign up to get the emails, and there's a giveaway on that same page. Signing up to the emails doesn't automatically enter you into the giveaway. You have to scroll down to where it says giveaway and do the, it's called Rafflecopter. Do that form there. Yeah, let's look at the art. Okay. I have to warn you, I have started this video 3 times. The first one, my dog was making some really gross noises, and I was scared that that y'all were thinking it was me. He is standing at the window now, so I can imagine there might be barking soon. I should kick him out, but he's just so cute. He knew I said that, his tail started wagging. And the second one, I feel very in my ADHD today. I'm very easily distracted. So we're just gonna go with it now and not try to do this a 4th time, and just hope that you will allow my ADHD to flourish. And if I stop in the middle of a sentence and start talking about something else, that's why, but I think we'll be okay today. We'll make it through. All right, so this artist is Chen Ke. She's from China, and I have shown her work before on the podcast. It is an episode from December 2022 with Yola Mehmeti, and we looked at a sculpture by her and loved that conversation. It's one of my favorites. I think every single episode is one of my favorites. I love my podcast, but I invite you to go check that one out to see another artwork. This artist has a really wide variety of styles. She has a lot of figurative work, a lot of portraiture, a lot of there's some sort of experimentations with media. There's a lot of different types of art that she makes. You can see she's constantly experimenting and evolving and trying new things, and it's worth checking out. I'll put a link to both that podcast with Yola and her website. Well, it's not her website, it's a gallery website with her work represented on it. So you can check it out. And let's talk about this one. So this is, the title is not going to be pronounced by me because I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Dajin. I looked up the meaning of that word. It's Chinese, and there were 3 possible meanings and 3 possible, like they were all pronounced differently. So I don't even know which one it was. My guess is, I have it open. You can see there's 3 different ones, and you can see there's different accents. And that if you click the little audio, it tells you how to say it, and they're all different. I think it's this one lunar month of 30 days because this first symbol of the 2 is actually in the artwork. So I thought maybe that was it. Not 100% sure. So I'm going to go with it. And we have no information because a lot, like I said, I think in my first video, is that we don't have a lot of information about contemporary art unless it's incorporated in a book. Unless it's written about on a museum website, but even then it's only a couple paragraphs, and often the label text is, depending on who wrote the label, may or may not be helpful to us in our interpretation. Often they'll focus on what it looks like, not necessarily like the meaning behind it. But when you scroll down, you can see this one has nothing. Some of them have a little bit of text below it. But it's just been one that's kind of quietly been captivating me. I've almost incorporated it as choices on the podcast before. I don't think maybe I did one once, but I don't know. It's just something mysterious about it. There's something intriguing about the way she used the supplies, but there's also something familiar about it. Like, it reminds me of I used to work at the Amon Carter Museum of American Art in Fort Worth a very long time ago, like 2004. I was a gallery teacher, and we had some trompe l'oeil paintings from I want to say the 1800s, and they looked, it was like, there was one, it was like a painting of an orange on a shelf. And then there was like this one that was like a dollar bill was like pinned to a board, and other things were pinned and like pasted onto this board. And it looked as if it were an actual board with things glued to it or whatever, but it was a painting. And I think it kind of looks like that, the fact that this one does actually have things nailed to it and glued to it. It just feels kind of familiar in that way for me. But what I want you to do, like I have in the other videos, is I want you to kind of look at it for yourself first before I kind of share my thoughts and ideas on it and how you might incorporate this in your classroom if you're a teacher. So just pause the video for just a minute and explore what you think is going on here in this artwork. Think about what it brings up for you emotionally, what it brings up for you narratively. Maybe there's a story that you see represented. Look for the symbols. I might have already said that, I'm not sure. Look for the symbols that you can see in there, and think about what you think this artwork is about and what it means to you. All right, so hopefully you paused and did that. If not, please do. Please do. Okay, so one of the things I want to point out, which blew my mind, I've been looking at this artwork for like 7 months. It's on this, I have this PowerPoint of like all the art choices, potential art choices for the podcast, also for the Art Connection Circle. If I see something that I'm like, oh, that would be really good for, an interview, that would be really good to pick apart at the circle, I'll add it to that PowerPoint just to remind myself that it exists, because like I said, ADHD, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So I add this, I just see it all the time on there. But one of the things I never noticed or looked at was the size of it. So I want you to notice it is 78 3/4 inches by 61 13/16 inches, and that is over 6 feet tall. And in my head, it was this, it was small. And I think it's because I'm thinking about those paintings at the M. Carter. If anything, it'd be their size. But even in my head, that like this was small. This was like a sketchbook size for some reason, is what I imagined. I think it's like if you look at the down here at the bottom, the Chinese characters, like they look like they're just like it's pencil, so you just wrote it on, that's what it looks like to me. And so it's just amazing to me at how big this is. Oh, you can zoom in. I wonder how good that feature is on their website. Maybe that was the wrong choice. Oh, here we are. Oh, thank you, website. Oh, look at that. What? It says 1965. It's got things carved into it. I wonder if she used like an old canvas and painted on top of it. Ooh, I have a lot of questions now. And this is not written, it's stitched. Look at there. Okay. Oh, I love that we can zoom in. Look at this texture. That is one of the things that I wanted to point out, is the texture. And look at the, like, you can really see those crackles and those holes, and all the level of detail with the stuff she added on, different media that she used. Sorry if I'm going too fast. But this also says 1965. That makes me think that it is the definition of year, lunar month of 30 days. Maybe she is depicting something that happened in 1965. I do know from her other work, the work that I looked at with Yola, that was from an exhibit about her father. It was like dedicated to her father. And then we have a painting of a man here, and we have some sort of tools. There's a horseshoe. This is what is it, like one of those, like saw, like from a saw. This looks like maybe like a garden stake or something. And then we have a man in the outdoors, that perhaps this is representing something about her father. Ooh, let's zoom in over here too. Yeah. Oh, this is a little painting, not little, it's got to be big, screwed and hanging on it. And this isn't, oh gosh, sorry. I hadn't zoomed in on it before I started the video, and now I'm just like really excited about that. I'm going to zoom in on one more thing before I start talking, because I want to see this other text. It's not letting me get down anymore. Overall, the website is moving pretty well. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it is, this one is painted or written on, and then these are stitched. Really cool. And then we have a little, like, there's a portrait here, kind of fuzzy and faded. And we've got multiple types of trees represented, maybe at different times of day. We've got the ones down here that are more sort of dusk looking. These are more maybe the bright, maybe this is early in the day, it's bright, or maybe around noon. And then down here, it's like winter. So these even could be seasons represented. So one of the things that I'm kind of doing, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time in, now it's not working right. Hold on, let's go back to this page. Okay. Oh no, stop clicking, Cindy. I was just trying to get rid of this bar. Oh, the X is over here. My face is just covering it up. All right, there we are. I don't remember what I was saying before I started saying that. Oh, I didn't spend a lot of time like really interpreting it. It's always just been this feeling that it gives me. So what I'm doing is kind of modeling the process of interpreting a work of art. I'm just noticing the different things, pointing out the textures I see, the images that I see, asking questions of it, like wondering aloud what it could be. And that's really what we do in an art discussion. If you're leading one with your students, or if you're in a program like mine, like the Art Connection Circle, which will be coming in the fall, we do spend some time just noticing, wondering, pondering, throwing out theories. So, my theory is this has definitely got to be about her dad, from just what I know about her work, that she did have that exhibit, wondering if this artwork was in that exhibit. And then and recognizing that this is probably a pretty deeply personal work of art to her, that there is a lot of like personal significance represented here in this artwork. And then I go beyond. So I promised you a few days ago that I would do a video of a process that I use of looking at interpreting works of art. So I'll kind of briefly just go over each process. This process is called Lectio Divina. And I have a worksheet on Art Class Curator called Reflect Connect. So you might have seen it in that way too, but it was based off of an old, an ancient, I don't know if ancient is the right word, but it's a sacred text process that early Christians used to interpret lines from the Bible. I learned about it not from that context, but from the Harry Potter and the Sacred Text podcast, which is an amazing podcast where they go and read chapter by chapter Harry Potter and then read it as if it's a sacred text. And so they read it through themes, like human themes, like compassion or jealousy or whatever it is. And then they read through each chapter, and they do a sacred text process at the end. And one of them is Lectio Divina. And when I heard that, the first thought I had, the first time I ever heard them do that, I was like, oh, you can do that with art. We're doing that with art. So I've been doing with art ever since. So the first step of the process is narrative, is you're just figuring out what's going on. And so what they do is they pull a line from the chapter, I think at random. I'm not sure if it's at random or not, but they pick the line and then they kind of situate in the context of the story. So, but for our sake, we are going to look at the narrative. So we look for we're going to figuring out what it's about. So I've kind of already done that a little bit. We're looking at the texture, we're looking at what's happening. We're seeing all the different items and how they might fit together. And we're kind of creating a little story for our own. And so for me, when I look at this, it feels to me like a memory. It feels like, and I talked about this on day one with the artwork by Maquita Ahuja, the parade, how her hair represented like what my interpretation was, the hair was like her whole past, like her whole life kind of back. And then the hair that was on the far left was like the far history. It was like fuzzy in your memory. And that's what this one feels like to me. It's like she's trying to remember something from childhood, but you know, when you try to remember something from childhood, it's, you know, it's fuzzy. You can't see it very clearly. You see like little like vignettes of like a thing you said, or like a moment in time of how you were standing. And like I just, the first memory that popped into my head is we used to, when I was in middle school, a couple years in a row, we went to South Padre Island, which is the beach, one of the beaches in Texas. And I have a very specific memory of standing in a place in that condo and looking towards the kitchen. Like, so I can see the kitchen and I can kind of see the dining area, and I can just see, and it's informed by pictures. So I think our children will have a very different construction of memory than we do, as when we didn't have, you know, such readily available cameras. I mean, we had cameras, but you know, you had to develop the film and do all of that kind of stuff. Like my children have so many pictures of everything, so their memories are going to be more clear of the spaces, because they're constantly being reinforced every time they look at those pictures. Anyway, but to me, it's just like this, it's very hazy. And especially in this process of writing my book, I've been trying to cull out these memories, but it's like, it's hard because I'm like, I can't tell the full story. And I'm also not very visual. People think I would be, because I'm into art and so much, but when I think and in my memories, it's often very much about like a kinesthetic thing. It's like the way I'm standing, or the way something tastes, or the sounds and smells, or the feeling I felt when I was in that place. And so to me, this is capturing like the haziness of the visual aspect, and that I can't see things very clearly. So even when I said that condo, I say I see it, but I don't really, it's not a visual thing, more as a feeling in a place. And so that's what this feels like it's trying to represent. It's like, it's it's like trying to put to visual the feeling of a memory. And so that's kind of what it feels like to me when I look at this painting. And now that I know how big it is too, that adds a whole other layer of meaning to it, that when I try to pull these memories from the past and try to remember and try to get as much detail as I can, it doesn't feel big to me. It feels it doesn't, well, you know, it doesn't feel like it has size, but if it did have size, it wouldn't be small. And so I'm wondering, if I saw this in person, what would it how would it be different? Would it be like trying to step into a memory? Would my interpretation of it be completely different? When I'm standing in front of this and seeing that those trees are like a foot tall, like the ones in the bottom left, maybe a foot tall, you know, I'd have to measure it, but like a little bit less than, like, how would that change the whole meaning of it? That horseshoe is probably an actual horseshoe. That's not like a trinket. I don't know why I thought, yeah, you know, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, of course it's got to be that big, because that's like an actual horseshoe. But so anyway, those are the thoughts that I think of when I look at this artwork. Oh, I was doing the whole Lectio Divina and I completely forgot. I warned you. Okay, that's why I'm going to do the separate video, because I don't trust that I'm going to be able to do it like that with a work of art, because depending on the day. Today, not so much. Okay, so that first one, I went beyond. So the narrative is what's going on. The second one is we're looking for symbols. So we look at the horseshoe, and what could that represent? We could look at the trees. We could look at the fact that there are different times of day. We're looking at the portrait at the bottom. You know, it's kind of fuzzy and hazy. So the fact that she made it fuzzy and hazy, like, that is a symbol too, like that it isn't clear. The portrait of the man on the shelf, what could that mean? The different textures, what could those mean? This little like hand. I think it's a hand. I'm going to do this clicking again. It's going to take a minute. Like, what is that? Is it a hand? What is it? And what could it represent? Or maybe it's a foot, or maybe it's neither. And then, so that's step 2 is to look for the symbols that are present, looking for the hidden meanings. And then step 3 is to find, like, what does it remind you of in your own life? So I talked about how for me, it reminds me of trying to remember a memory. That's step 3 is, so maybe, if the artwork is about, it's like a woman. Maybe I was going to go into an example from an Aline Pierre artwork, but I'm like, why don't I just use the artwork in front of me? So if the artwork, you think that the artwork is about her father or whatever, maybe it reminds you of your own father and your own relationship with your father, which suddenly just saying that makes me think about my own father and the fact that a lot of my memories of him are very fuzzy because he was an alcoholic, and then like they got divorced when I was 5, and then when I was 8, my biological dad sort of disappeared, and then I only saw him a few times after that before he passed when I was just out of college. So like I don't have a lot of very clear memories of him, and so when I do try to remember him and remember time with him, it's very, very fuzzy. So that would be something that I would bring up in the 3rd step, which is to where does this remind you of in your own life? Or maybe it reminds you of something, like it could remind you of something that like something that's causing you pain in your own life. So maybe it's reminding you of that you are in a certain emotional place that is bringing you down, or maybe it's reminding you of a habit that you used to have and you don't anymore. So even like the fact that you wish you were making art, like this artwork makes you think of making art and you don't make art anymore. That might be something that it brings up. So that happens in step 3. And then in step 4 is, what are you going to do differently with this awareness? Because sometimes you can have an awareness about yourself, an aha moment about yourself, and then you just stop. Like, that's it. But if you don't do anything with it, if you don't make a change, if you don't really think about how to take this awareness into your life, then it just kind of stops there. So step 4 is, what are you going to do differently now with this new awareness? Or what are you going to not do differently, but what are you going to do? Like, what action can you take? What thought can you try to start to think instead of another thought or something like that? So I don't know what my answer is for the 4th step on this one. But that's something that works for me for a lot of works of art. If I want to really get a deeper meaning in it, you can go through those 4 steps. Okay, so that is this artwork. For teaching it. So I would love to get this artwork in front of some students and see what they say. I think that there are a lot of opportunities here for different interpretations of it. I would love to hear their interpretations, and I would love to have them write a story of what if this is representing a memory, which I have a feeling that would come up in a discussion. I have a feeling it's not just me that's going to think that. Like, have them write a story of what this memory is, and then to create an artwork that tries to piece together one of their memories. But not in a way that is very narrative, that tells the story in a very like explicit way. Like, how do you capture the feeling of the memory rather than the story of the memory? So that's what I would do with this artwork. Also experimenting with media, experimenting with texture, experimenting with collage, and assemblage, because that's what this has both painting and it has stuff actually glued to it, 3-dimensional items. So that's what I would do if I were to be teaching this artwork, if I were to be introducing this artwork to students. All right. Thank you for joining me today for this video. Thank you for putting up with my ADHD moments. They weren't so bad. It could be worse. Reminder, if you want these videos by email, sign up at artclasscurator.com/AATW. Also, you can enter the giveaway there. And I'll be back tomorrow with a new artwork and a new artist. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Bye.